Well, turns out hockey games are kinda easy sometimes when you get some good saves. Avs win over the San Jose Sharks 4-1. I'm not going to tell you the Avs played their best game here because I don't think they played even close to their best game across the full 60 minutes of this game, but they played well enough to beat a not so good San Jose team. And on any given night, that's good enough. I don't think any of these periods are periods that the Avs should be completely happy with, but there's also no periods that the Avs should be devastated about. When it comes to possession, the first period was certainly the Avs' best. And when you're controlling play, you force the other team into making mistakes. The Sharks get caught with too many men 6 minutes into the first period, and you do not want to go up against the Avs power play right now. Avs immediately with possession and get set up on their power play here. This is actually becoming a bit more common. We're used to the perimeter. We're used to this motion a million times until one of these two on the outside take the shot. But we're starting to see Ross Colton step up, and it's a little bit familiar to what JT Compher has given the Avs in that bumper spot. The Avs feel comfortable giving Colton pucks in the middle, and he's doing a great job finishing them. Look, I'll be honest, I don't think this is sustainable for Colton. He's shooting 27% right now. That's too high. He's not going to be able to repeat that. I think if you put him in the right opportunities, he is a very good shooter, just not quite this good. With that being said, I do think he fits almost perfectly into that bumper role for the Avalanche on their power play, especially PP1. I know the Avs are expected to get guys back as this season rolls into November, but if he can keep up some of this play and at very least look good in that bumper spot, if not score a handful more goals from there, you really do have to consider keeping him on power play 1. The Avs have loved the bumper for a very long time. As much as I don't like it, when you put a player like Ross Colton in there who's a legitimate threat to score goals from that position, teams have to respect it. And you're either respecting that and giving more room to players like McKinnon, Makar, and Rantanen, or if you're not respecting it, Ross Colton can beat you. The power play is great and probably an important thing for the Avs long term to understand what assets they have there, even if it won't continue to score at the rate that it has been this season. But what's maybe more important for the Avs in the immediate is the fact that Ross Colton on that top line is helping them produce at 5-on-5. Keep in mind how quickly this play happens for the Avs. They're breaking out from their own zone behind their goal with 3:30 left on the clock. Gerard gets this up to Makar. Makar turns. He has a little bit of space, but just off screen, there's a Shark barreling towards him. He picks it up, he recognizes it, and he makes the correct play. He goes up the wall to Mikko Rantanen, and now because of the Sharks' aggression, you're in a 3-on-3 situation against the Avs' best players, McKinnon, Rantanen, Colton. Obviously, everyone's going to be more afraid of McKinnon and Rantanen in this situation. That just makes sense. But Colton knows that, and he takes advantage of it. Full steam, through the middle of the ice, he's able to go full speed and get the blue line here. As Mikko recognizes the situation, heads up, he sees Colton coming, so he knows he needs to get the blue line. If we stop right there, 4 seconds, the Avs just went from their own goal line to the opposing blue line in 4 seconds. They come at you fast. At this point, Colton's already beaten his man. He's down and through the middle, and Mikko Rantanen is an unbelievably high-level passer. He's going to sauce this puck through 2 Sharks players and hit Colton in stride. That's ridiculously accurate passing. See plenty of players sauce it past one guy and throw it to the open space here, and whatever happens then happens. But that is on Ross Colton's stick, just perfectly placed, and Colton makes it counts with a nice forehand finish. The Avs are too pacey of a team. If you get caught sleeping for just a second when the Avs are breaking out, the puck ends up in the back of your net. Another 2-goal game for Ross Colton, 6 goals in 6 games on the season. He's up there with the league leaders in goal scoring so far. I think he's starting to make it hard to put him back at center, if I'm being honest. You expect the Avs to get Jonathan Drouin and Arturi Lehkonen back pretty soon here, but that still leaves some room for Colton on the wing. Yes, down the line, if a Val Nichushkin can come back, if a Gabe Landeskog comes back, then things start to get quite crowded for him there. But at least in the short term of the next month or so, he can be a valuable asset for the Avs there, and he's going to have to find ways to fit into the lineup. He's the Avs' utility knife at this point. I talked about that last game too. Nonetheless, the Avs would not have their 2 wins this season without him. That was ultimately the game-winning goal, even if you didn't know it at the time. This was shaping up to be an A-plus period at that point. The Avs had dominated it, things looked great, and then Josh Manson takes kind of a silly penalty. Manson just misreads a situation where an Avs player simply just loses an edge and falls over, but he thinks he got taken out by Luke Kunin. So Manson essentially just jumps him and tries to get him into a fight. NHL reffing is weird, and sometimes when a guy doesn't get his gloves off, they don't call it a fight, so it ends up being a double minor for roughing to Josh Manson and just a single minor to Kunin. A little bit of weird reffing does not help the Avs there, but Manson, you just did not need to step up and do that there. I know in the moment he thinks that it's a guy who got taken out and it's not just a guy losing an edge, but that's a clean play that he actively turned into a negative for Colorado. And I could get past something like this with Manson, but he had more struggles throughout this game, both a little bit squirrely defensively, and he would go on to take another penalty in this game too. He really hurts the Avs when he kind of steps over that line and ends up sitting in the box. Partially because he needs to be one of the Avs' penalty killers, which I'll get to in a second. First, we have to see the Avs pay the price for that penalty. Immediately off of a face-off loss on the Avs penalty kill, working along the half wall here, you're going to see this puck work down deep to the deep man for the Sharks on this side. Now keep in mind that the Avs are playing a diamond here where Makar is playing that kind of mid-forward / defenseman role, playing both, and Girard is the defenseman, the hard number 4 here in front of his net. So when this puck works down in deep, one, you'd like to see Makar do a better job of preventing that puck getting there in the first place, and 2, this is Girard's man. Ultimately, Girard is tasked with preventing anyone from getting into this net front area. This is an area that he needs to be able to prevent players from doing anything in, and he just fails to do that. It's an easy step in for Eklund, and he's able to roof it and get the Sharks on the board. On one hand, those goals get scored on the power play sometimes. It is what it is. Don't take the penalty in the first place. On the other hand, I'm about to go way too in-depth on why I think that goal could have been prevented. If you don't want to hear me ramble on about this, skip to the time code that's on screen right now, but let me get into it. Okay, let's start here. Sam Girard should not be your guy you're expecting to clear out your net front. Pretty much ever, and certainly not on a penalty kill. I really like Sam Girard. He does a lot of things well on the ice, but there are realities about his game. The fact that he's undersized, he's never going to be very successful when it comes to that net front top of the crease area. This is interesting because Girard is actually one of the Avs' better penalty killing defensemen, but this year the Avs are running a diamond on the penalty kill. That means your number 1 is your high forward in the zone. Your number 2 and your number 3 are across from each other, down from your high forward around the hash marks or maybe a little bit above or below. Your number 2 being your second forward. Your number 3 being one of your defensemen pushed up a little bit to create that diamond shape. And then your number 4 being your last defenseman sitting net front. Now, obviously, this perfect diamond shape does not always hold up. You have to adjust to the power play that's playing around you. But Girard should really slot more into that number 3 spot, playing a little bit higher in the zone, and should be partnered with a number 4 defenseman that is bigger, stronger, and can clear that net front area. In this case, he was paired with Cale Makar. Makar is not a small defenseman, but he's not a guy you expect to do that physical stuff net front. And I know that the Avs are a little bit thin on their defense without Devon Taves, who, if he was out there, you're probably not playing Makar and Girard together on the penalty kill, but you shouldn't be playing them on the penalty kill anyway. The Avs have 3 big, strong defensemen, or whatever you want to call them, that they could have paired with Girard. You have Manson, you have Calvin DeHaan, and you have John Ludwig. Now, to be fair, Manson took him out of that option because he took the penalty, so he could not play out there. That's bad. Manson shouldn't do that. But the real conversation I want to have here is, why aren't you using Calvin DeHaan or John Ludwig there? And don't give me the handedness conversation for multiple reasons. One, both DeHaan and Ludwig can play the right side, with Girard being a lefty, even if they are all lefties. But more importantly, on that goal, Cale Makar is a righty, but for some reason is playing on that left side in that penalty kill situation. So Yeah, I get it. There's a little bit of discombobulation, but you did not set yourself up for success with the personnel you used on this penalty kill. The goal is scored almost immediately. You have someone like Calvin DeHaan, a respected veteran, a defensive D that you should be using on the penalty kill, even if you don't have Josh Manson because he's in the penalty box. And then you also have the option of John Ludwig. For the record, again, I'm not saying take Girard off of the penalty kill. I'm saying put him with a number 4 type defenseman so Girard can be that number 3 a little bit higher up the ice in this diamond, instead of putting someone like Cale Makar with him who also wants to be that number 3 type. And the problem here is the Avs don't trust John Ludwig to penalty kill for them, and they have to do that. They have to start trusting him to do that. He's a big, supposedly defensive defenseman that's supposed to play physical and should be perfect for a role like clearing out the net front area and preventing dangerous chances from there. If he cannot do that for you, why did you claim him on waivers? This is a problem for the Avs because Ludwig only played 12 minutes tonight. More than 4 minutes less than the next closest defenseman. And a big portion of that is because he's not playing on special teams. You're going to end up in situations where someone like a Josh Manson has a bad night, and you're going to need someone who can fill into that role, which in theory should be Ludwig. It's why the Avs made some sense of going out and getting a player like that, but they're not using him like that. They need to start, at least try it, at least show me that he can't do it, because right now you're setting yourself up for failure. Okay, rant over, let's move on. So for the first time this season, the Avs have a lead after the first period, which should be better. You put yourself in a bad spot with that penalty kill. You probably should have gotten out of this period 2-0, but it's hard to feel that bad about that period. It was a quality period from Colorado, and you feel good. The second period was bad. Just a bad period from Colorado. No two ways about it. They get away with it, mostly because Justus Annunen does a very good job for them in net, preventing anything from turning this game into something that might not have been pretty, but didn't happen. We didn't go there. The Avs start this period by failing to score on a 5-on-3. That's never a good thing, but could be a lot worse. It is made a lot worse by the Avs taking 4 different penalties in this period, including giving San Jose 40 seconds of 5-on-3 time of their own. And some of the calls aren't great, sure, whatever. But the Avs, with a lead, made their life significantly harder by taking penalty after penalty after penalty. Thankfully, they kill them all. Big credit to the penalty kill here. Thought Sam Girard was very good on the penalty kills in the second period, despite his struggles with the first one. And the biggest difference is Justus Annunen. Justus Annunen was very good at making the simple saves in this game. Justus did not have to do a lot of work when it comes to high danger chances against him. He really didn't face very many, but he did not get scored on by any of the low danger chances. And that is the key to the Avs goaltending right now. You don't have to stand on your head. You're not playing the toughest opponents. You just have to make the saves that you're supposed to make. And Justus did that for pretty much this entire night, and it allowed the Avs to maybe make some mistakes with things like taking penalties and get away with it. All of the penalties means less than half of the period was played at 5-on-5, but to be clear, the Avs were not any good at 5-on-5 either. In the 8 minutes and 50 seconds of 5-on-5 play, the Avs registered just 4 shot attempts. That's bad. Like, really bad. For reference, in that time frame, the Sharks registered 14 shot attempts. The Avs got pretty caved in that period. I don't think you can argue any other direction. Some of that is of their own making, but they're better than that. They're fully capable of playing better hockey than that. Look, 1 period before, and you can see that. And sure, the Sharks are down, they're pushing back, but the Avs just almost entirely stopped playing offense in that period. And this has happened a few too many times this year in the second period. I'm not sure what it is, but they have to figure out a way to play more effective hockey with the puck in the second. You cannot just disappear from periods and expect to win very often. You get away with it against teams like the Sharks. You won't against high-level teams. And then you have the third period. Third period was pretty snoozy. The Avs did not play a ton of offense again, but this is nowhere near what it was like in the second. 1, they weren't taking stupid penalties, but 2, they were shutting down the Sharks entirely. Yes, the Avs only got 4 shots on goal in the third period, but the Sharks only got 7, so it's not like the Avs were getting caved. Maybe more importantly, in the third period, the Sharks got 0 high danger chances. The Avs actually were significantly more dangerous throughout the period, generating significantly more expected goals. If you're playing to protect a lead, this third period was honestly pretty textbook. Think it's fair to say you have qualms with protecting a lead for a full period when it's just a 1-goal lead. You would have liked the Avs to be a bit more aggressive, certainly in the first half of the third, but their defense was sound, solid, and they got good goaltending, and ultimately, they didn't need an insurance goal because they didn't give up much at all. With that said, they do get that insurance goal. This mess right here, this board battle, is what makes this play. It's the Avs' fourth liners getting a puck in deep, causing chaos, and just outworking guys to get an offensive zone possession. If not for this play right here from Ivan and Kiviranta, they don't get possession, and this is a nothing play. But because they win that battle, they're able to get it set up. They get it back out to the point from Ludwig. The Sharks have heavily over-aggressed on that battle. They were desperate to win it and get it out of their zone. Because of that, the far side of the ice has a ton of space wide open. And it's good recognition from Ludwig to get this across to Josh Manson quickly so he can take advantage of that space. Now, to be honest, Manson doesn't use the space that well, but he does allow San Jose to get caught floating back into that space. All 5 Sharks moving this way, doing a little bit of puck watching and puck chasing, and would you look at that, they've completely forgotten about Kiviranta on the back door. Manson saw him though. He's going to see the passing lane and he's going to hit him beautifully. And then Kivy, a good job to respect the time that he has. He recognizes he's uncovered, so he knows he can slow play this, cut it to his backhand side, catch the goalie going the wrong direction, and it's an easy goal from there. Fantastic job by the Avs' fourth line on this goal. That's the way they have to work to generate goals. They're not going to be able to do fancy stuff all the time, even if that was a nice move net front by Kiviranta, but they have to work to dig pucks and keep teams in their own zone, and eventually they'll get plays that go in. Huge for the Avs. They've needed some depth production, and it made this game that much easier. They were mostly able to cruise to a win from there, if I'm honest. And also credit to Josh Manson. And I've said it a few times, I don't think he had a very good game here, but he found a way to be effective when he wasn't having his best game. If you want to be a long-term consistent NHLer, you have to do that. When you're having a bad night, it can't turn into a worse night. You have to find a way to do something positive. Sharks really weren't able to muster anything dangerous after going down by 2 at that point. They eventually do pull their goalie, and the Avs are able to take advantage of that. Cale Makar with the empty netter for a 3-point night. Cale Makar, 12 points in 6 games, still averaging 2 points per game at this point in the season. That puts him in a tie for the most production of anyone in the NHL right now. Not just defensemen, that includes forwards. Cale Makar's just special. That was it. The Avs get a fairly routine, fairly easy win. Take less penalties and it was even easier, but ultimately, job gets done. I'm not losing my mind celebrating a win over the San Jose Sharks. That's a team the Avs should beat. They did. They got their record back to 2-4. This is a good start to a turnaround from that slow start to the season. They have to keep it going, though. You can't celebrate 2 wins for every 4 losses. The Avs need to push and continue to get themselves back towards that 500 mark on this road trip. There's 2 games left on it. In a perfect world, they really should be winning both. That's the end of this game video review. Thank you for watching. I am Rudo, and easy wins. I missed these.